Hello student, good morning all of you. I hope you all are fine. I Neeraj Khare as a biology teacher of class 10th. So dear student, let me start chapter 8, how do organisms reproduce, and today's topic vegetative reproduction. Vegetative reproductions. So dear students, vegetative reproduction is another method of the asexual reproduction. In this form of reproduction, stem, root and leaves are used to form the plants when they provide with the suitable conditions. Vegetative reproduction is another method of the asexual reproduction. In this form of the reproduction, stem, root and leaves are used to form plants when they provide with the suitable condition. So vegetative reproduction is another method of asexual reproduction. Layering and the cutting are the two common methods used for the vegetative propagation. For the example, banana, rose and jasmine, etc. Layering and cutting are the two common methods used for the vegetative propagation. For the example, banana, rose, jasmine, etc. Layering and cutting are two common methods used for vegetative propagation. The example, banana, rose, jasmine, etc. The plants produced through the vegetative propagation is a genetically, genetically identical to parent's plant. The plants produced through the vegetative propagation is the genetically identical to parent's plant. Cutting involves the rooting of the served pieces of the plants, and layering involves the rooting of the pieces of the plants and the surviving it. Grafting occurs when two plants parts are joined together, such as stem and root. The stem of the plants to be grafted is known as the cycons, and the root is the called the stalk. Grafting occurs when the two plants parts are joined together, such as the stem and root. The stem of the plants to be grafted is known as the cycon, and the root is the called the stalk. So dear student, look at this picture. The cutting of the blade for the branches. To cut at the plant, parents plants and cutting. The cutting sand and soil or the compost. So dear students, soil of compost, sand and cutting part. Spore formation is another method of asexual reproduction. Spore formation is another method of asexual reproductions that involve specific reproductive part, such as the hyphae in the rhizopus and blow on a stick structure in rhizopus are involved in the reproduction. So spore formation is another method of asexual reproduction. Spore formation is another method of asexual reproduction that involves a specific reproductive part, such as the hyphae in the rhizopus and blob. And so spore formation is another method of the sexual reproductions that involve a specific reproductive part, such as the hyphae in the rhizopus and the blob on a stick. Structure is the rhizopus are involved in reproduction. So dear students, look at this picture. Is spore formations. So spore and one other smaller part is called as a spongia and hyphae. The bursting sporangia despairing the spore. Bursting sporangia and despairing of spore. Sexual reproduction. Yes, student, let me start for the sexual reproduction. So sexual reproduction involve two different parents organisms involving female and a male parents. Sexual reproduction involved two different parents organisms involving female and male parents. Significance of sexual reproduction. Significance of reproductions. Sexual reproduction is the sources of the variation mixing of two organisms give rise to new recombinants or the variants. Sexual reproduction involves the mating of germ cells, also known as the gametes. Sexual reproduction is the sources of the variation mixing of two organisms give rise to new recombinates or variant. The sexual reproduction involves the mating of the germ cell, also known as gametes. These gametes are haploid in nature, that is, they have half set of chromosomes. These gametes are formed through the process of meiosis. The process of meiosis. The gametes are formed through the process of meiosis when the male gametes and the female gametes, each with the haploid set of the chromosomes, com- combine, combines, they will form of the diploid zygote. When the male gametes and the female gametes, each with the haploid set of the chromosomes combine, they will form a diploid zygote. The zygote undergo the division to form a new organism. Zygote undergo the repeated division to form a new organism. In human, male gametes is small and the motile, whereas the female gametes is the large and the non-motile. Sexual reproduction in the flowering plant. Sexual reproduction in a flowering plant. The flower is the reproductive structure found in the angiosperm. Flower consists of the sepal, petal, stamen, and pistil. Flower is the reproductive structure found in the angiosperms. Flower consists of the sepal, petal, stamen, and pistils. Look at this picture. So then the petal, anther, filament, stamen, sepal, stem, and complete by the stigma, style, and ovary is complete the carpel. So look at the figure, the reproductive part of flower, male and female. A flower is said to be the unisexual is the content the other stamens or the pistils wherever is the both stamens and the pistils are present, it is the known as the bisexual. A flower is said to be the unisexual if it the contains the either the stamens or the pistils where is the both stamens and the pistils are present, it is the known as the bisexual. Papaya and water lemon are the unisexual, whereas the hibiscus and the mustard are the bisexual in the nature. Pistil and carpels is the female reproductive structure which is the consist of the soil basal part ovary. Soil basal parts ovary middle illuminated the styles and the terminal stigma. Style and terminal stigma. So pistil carpel is the female reproductive structure which is the consist of the soiling basal part ovary, middle elongated styles and terminal stigma. Ovary contain the ovules and each the ovules were and the egg cell. Ovary contain the ovules and the each ovule sphere and the egg cell. Stamen is the male reproductive part and it the consist of the another and the stigma. Another and the stigma anther contain the pollen grain which fuse with the female gametes that is egg cells fusion leads to the zygote formation which the form a new plants. Anther contain the pollen grain which is the fuse with the female gametes, that is egg cell fusion leads to the zygote formation which form a new plants. Transfer of pollen grain from the anther to the stigma. Transfer of pollen grain from the anther to the stigma of the flower is known as the pollination. Known as the pollination. When the pollen and the stigma is of the same flower, it is known as the self pollination. When the pollen from one flower land on the stigma of another flower, it is known as the cross the pollination. When the pollen from one flower leads on the stigma of another flower, it is known as cross pollination. So, dear student, today's topic is complete. I send you the homework for the PDF file. So, complete your work and send me. Thank you, dear students.